Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we are finally diving into Norvina. I've had this palette for a while and I still haven't used it on my channel. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to start with the shade Base on a flat synthetic brush, and I'm just going to pack that from my crease up to my brow bone just to set the area and make it easier to blend out my transition shade for a smoother blend. And now I'm taking the shade Incense on a Morphe M504, and I'm just going to start to build up my transition. I've actually had this palette for about a month or two now, and I'm just now getting around to filming with it. So what happened was I bought this palette at the same time that I bought the Bling Boss palette by Morphe, and I guess I just kind of ended up liking that color story a little bit more than I liked this one. Not that I dislike this color story. In fact, I think it's really pretty. I just think that one just read a little bit more plummy and a little bit more purple than this palette read. But really, I just wanted to pull this palette out and use it on camera before I depotted it, because you know that that's happening. And in fact, I have a Z palette that has the Modern Renaissance, the Subculture, and the Soft Glam palette in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to relocate the single shadows probably into another palette, and I'm going to depot Norvina and go ahead and put it alongside these other three Anastasia palettes that I have in this Z palette. So I figure I might as well go ahead and use this once on camera while the entire palette is still intact before I destroy it. But for as soft as these shadows are, they're actually quite easy to depot without destroying them. I haven't had, even with the Subculture palette, which I really was worried that all of those shadows were just gonna bust as soon as I pulled them out of the palette. I didn't have any casualties at all. And I'm also gonna blend out underneath the eye, blend that shade into the lower lash line, and kind of fill the eye socket area because I want to go really blown out and really smoky with this look today. Now, Incense pulls a little more orangey on me than it looks in the pan, which I'm totally fine with. I'm going to go ahead and intensify that a little bit more with the shade Eccentric. I'm going to put that on with a Morphe R39 brush, and I'm just going to kind of intensify the warm tone and a little bit of that oranginess really just in the crease area. Now, again, as far as like the purple kind of color story, I definitely prefer the Bling Boss palette over this one because that one is just definitely more like plum, red, purple. It has all that going on. But I just think that these kind of tones are so much more flattering on a wider variety of people than like a cool toned or like, you know, like the Urban Decay Smoky palette, like cool tone grays and browns and like gunmetal colors. I just feel like those colors don't work on a lot of people, where warm tones are just really flattering on everybody. So I'm a big fan. Now, I did see on Instagram a few weeks ago where Jeffree Star kind of alluded to the fact that he would be coming out with single shadows, which I've wanted all along, actually. I really hope that happens soon because I would love to be able to build my own eyeshadow palette with the Jeffree Star eyeshadows. And obviously, I don't mind like destroying my packaging and depotting everything and transferring everything over into Z palettes and kind of creating my own. But there's something about the Jeffree Star palettes that I think it's because they're, for the most part, they're so slim already. For me to depot those palettes and then take those shadows and put them into other palettes, I don't know that I would really be like condensing them. I don't think they would be taking up less space. So I've gone ahead and kept those in their original packaging. But I definitely would rebuy my favorite shades from those palettes and kind of just build my own. I would love to do that. So I hope that those happen soon. So now using the shade Passion on the same R39, this is the deepest of the matte shades in this palette, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that dark in the palette, but on the eyes I feel like it really does build up to a nice deep dark color. Obviously, like every palette can't have a black shade. I mean, it would be stupid to do that. So I feel like if you wanted to go even deeper, even darker, you would definitely have to go into something like Noir, I think was a shade from Soft Glam. and kind of build that up into the crease if you wanted to deepen it up a little bit more, which I might do. I'm not sure yet. And the shade is just so easy to blend out. You can build it up really easily and create a lot of depth and a lot of darkness, but then at the same time, it's easy to really just blend it out and soften everything up. It doesn't get patchy, it doesn't get weird, it doesn't do the subculture thing. And as far as like the subculture thing goes, I think that the subculture palette is workable. I don't think it was the total garbage palette that everybody gave it shit for when it came out. But I really do think that you have to just take your time and be really patient with that palette. And you really have to baby it, which I mean, it kind of sucks that you have to do that. But I think it is workable. I think it is blendable. You just have to really, really take your time with it. Which is why I think that the other Anastasia palettes are so great, because they really just kind of blend themselves out and you don't have to do much work. I mean, I'm on my third color right now. I'm almost done and I've only been at this for like 20 minutes. So it is really, really easy. When I was putting my base on today before I started shooting this video, I've been using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation for a couple of months now. And I mean, I've been wearing makeup for more than half my life. I've been wearing makeup for longer than some of you have been alive. But it's so rare for me that I ever finish up a bottle of foundation, you know, because again, I have problematic skin. I have like really oily skin. I have really textured skin. And now I've got like aging skin. So again, it's hard for me to find something that I totally love that I'm gonna stick with and use up an entire bottle of foundation. But again, when I was going in to put on my base today, I realized that even tipping this upside down, I could barely get anything out of it. And when I looked inside of it, I realized that it's pretty much fucking empty. Like, I've gone through this entire bottle. I like it that much. Now, as far as foundations that I've been using lately that I like, but I discovered does not like me at all, is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Foundation. Now, when I wear that one, it looks great on my skin all day, especially, you know, on those days where you want to have that no makeup look and have something that's not going to look gross halfway through the day. I feel like that one works really well and it does look beautiful on the skin all day long. But the problem is, every single time that I wear that foundation or that tinted moisturizer or whatever it is you want to call it, it breaks me out so bad that I end up having zits that I have to pop for days. But I realize that that's only been happening to me when I wear the Bye Bye foundation, which again really sucks because I love it all day on the days that I'm wearing it. But then I have to dick around popping the same zits over and over and over for like 3 or 4 days after. So unfortunately, I think that's gonna have to go into the giveaway pile because I just can't have that crazy acne all over my face all the time. Just because I love my foundation for one day, you know what I mean? I did, however, recently, and I don't know if I've talked about this in a video yet, but I got a sample of the MAC Next to Nothing foundation, and that's one that I feel like I didn't read or see or hear any good reviews on that one. I feel like everybody completely trashed that foundation, saying that it like wasn't enough coverage or whatever it was. So I had actually got a few samples of it just so I could wear it and test it and just see how it did on my skin. And that one, for me, I think is amazing. I do feel like you have to really baby that one with application. You have to kind of like stipple it onto the skin with a brush and be really careful about your application, especially on the nose area, because it does kind of want to get a little like bunchy and separate-y while you're applying it to your nose. But the thing about the Next to Nothing foundation is it's got a lot of pigment in it, packed into like that water base. I feel like what happens is once the water evaporates from it, the pigment is all left behind. So it really does actually cover everything. Like, I found it to be full coverage, but it didn't look like anything on the skin, which is what I think is so genius about it. And I feel like if people used it and used it correctly and wore it on those days where they wanted like a no foundation look, I think that that foundation would do really well as far as like sales go. I feel like I want to go buy a whole bunch of bottles of it and put it in the fridge because I feel like that one's gonna get discontinued just because people haven't really given it a chance and they haven't worked with it enough to find out how it actually works. Because again, I think that you do have to baby it upon application, but if you do, I think it's genius for those days where you want to have that no makeup look, which for something like the Bye Bye foundation, it looks beautiful on the skin. It's really easy. You don't have to baby it upon application. But again, this trashes my skin for a week, where the next to nothing foundation, I've got to baby it a little bit more to get it on and to get it smooth and to make it look nice. But it looks beautiful all day, it wears well, and it doesn't fuck up my skin. So there you go. So now with my finger, I'm gonna apply the shade Summer onto the NYX Glitter Primer right on my lid. And then I am going to just kind of lightly blend that out from there, just a little bit. I don't want this to be a complete cut crease moment, but at the same time, I just feel like blending a really shimmery shade like this into matte shadows is almost impossible. So we'll just kind of keep that in its own area. But while we're on the subject of skin, I actually just bought a whole bunch of products from The Ordinary. Those should be arriving this week. Last summer, I had done a video, I think I had done a few videos when I had originally first bought my Ordinary products. I had bought a shit ton of stuff from Beautylish, and that's actually where I bought it from this time as well. And I had used quite a few products over the course of a few months, and I found quite a few products that are like holy grail products for me, and a couple that just completely trash my skin. So now that I know how their products work for me and which ones I really like and which ones I don't, I finally had run out of almost everything. I mean, it's been a year, so at that point you really need to replace your skincare stuff anyway. So I did order like a ton of stuff. A lot were replacements, and there were a few things that I just kind of wanted to try that I hadn't tried yet, and they have a few new products that I wanted to try. So all of that stuff is on its way. So expect probably in a few weeks more of like an updated skincare routine video. And then on the waterline, I'm going to use the Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in the shade Whiskey, because this is a nice warm brown that I think is just going to go really nicely with all of the shadow colors that we use today. And then with a MAC pencil brush, I believe this is a 219, I'm going to use the shade Dreamer, and I'm going to apply that to my inner corners. And then I'm also going to use that as my cheekbone highlight today too, just to kind of tie everything together. We'll go ahead and get these lashes curled and get some mascara on really quick. And that's the finished look. For anybody that was wondering, I actually did my lips off camera before I started shooting, and I used the MAC lip pencils in Subculture and Whirl. I filled in my lips with Subculture, and then I went in with Whirl and just kind of added a little bit of a contour around the outside edges and kind of just blended that in a little bit. So that's gonna be it for today. I'm glad that I finally got to use Norvina on camera for you guys. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing destroyed and torn up and get all of these shadows put into this palette with the rest of my Anastasia palettes. If you want to see that little mini tutorial, head on over to my Instagram. It should be up right at the same time that this video goes live. So if you're not yet following me there, be sure to do that. Hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one.